A very happy Friday and welcome to another episode of the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. My name is Justin. Today is February 20th of 2026. Hope everyone have had themselves a good weekend. I hope everyone has a very impactful schedule for their weekend. I know I do. That does involve trying to watch some spring training baseball as that got underway earlier today. Got the Reds beginning tomorrow. I got my daughter's basketball game tomorrow at, I want to say at 10 or at 9. And anyways, that's going to be always a fun thing to probably try to take them out to the Chooser Museum and let them play around, try to get all that energy out of them on Saturday. Come back home for the evening time, relax, and get ready for, um, I say get ready for Sunday, which is church Sunday, and then get ready for Monday as we cover a new week in the sports world. So that's kind of my weekend in a nutshell. I'm feeling much, much better compared to earlier this week, compared to earlier this month. Gotta tell you, be honest, I had that flu at the beginning of the month. That lasted about a week. And then it was congestion. It was a cough. And don't get me wrong, I think I still have some sort of a cough. My voice is still a little bit of croak, but it is getting a lot better. And I am excited and see. And as soon as I say something, my voice is going to go back to being terrible. My allergies are going to flare up. And boy, it is out nice outside, a little bit windy. We had, I'm going to say a little bit of false alarm rain last night. I know a couple of storms was supposed to come through. And my wife and I, we love storms, the good thunderstorms. And we want to keep our window open because in the middle of the night on a good thunderstorm, we can hear it. We get woken up by it, and it feels good, right? It's all gloomy. You got the lightning, and then you could count down to the thunder striking, and then you do it all over again. And you got the wind and the rain, and I was a little bit disappointed. We went to bed last night. We had our window open, and we're kind of cautious because, there's kind of always an outlet underneath the window seal in every room. And the last thing we want to do is based on of how the current of the rain goes, sometimes the rain comes into and on our window seal. And if you don't prepare at night for that, then you'll wake up to a whole mess. So we are very cautious about it, but we love to have our windows open. And I was a little bit disappointed last night. Now, no, I'm not a fan of tornadoes or hurricanes or snow blizzards. I think I can enjoy them from a distance. Woke up this morning and it was just very breezy outside. But a little disappointed in the weather. But that's fine because it feels good. Weather says it's about 48 degrees. I can just imagine what the weather's like out there in Goodyear, Arizona. I mean, these Redlegs have it made for them. They're not down in Florida. They're in Arizona. You're going to get a lot of temperatures in the maybe mid 60s, maybe low 70s. Like you're going to have yourself a good spring training. And I'm kind of jealous. I wish I could jump on a plane, go out to Goodyear, and just spend the next 6 weeks in that perfect weather. And this is the only time of year, to be honest, where Arizona is really beautiful to be at. Otherwise, it's unbearably hot. I'd say that we got to deal with the humidity, and I don't like that either. But the Reds get to enjoy themselves, and they begin spring training games tomorrow as they take on the Cleveland Guardians. The Guardians will have a split squad tomorrow. How are you watching Reds baseball? Are you watching Reds baseball? Do you even care to watch spring baseball at all? What are your goals for the next 6 weeks before opening day? And I ask that question because I'm sitting here and there's many other sports talks in the area that are giving you mock drafts. They're phased by the Cincinnati Reds. And listen, I get it. We're only in February. We're just a week past Valentine's Day. We haven't even hit St. Patrick's Day. It's not March 1st. And we're here talking you nonsense about baseball after baseball after baseball. And it gets pretty tiring, right? I probably feel it does get tiring after a while. To be honest, this is a much better conversation I have right now than trying to dissect the Cincinnati Bengals and what they need to do during this offseason. I think it is apparent that the Bengals have some situations on the field that they need to address that raises concern. And I agree with you. There's the conversation that we could always have with Trey Hendrickson and the opinions of either franchise tagging him and keeping him, franchise tagging him and trading him, letting him walk. But why do you let him walk when we don't get nothing in return? That would be a pointless decision. But what are you going to get out of him if you franchise tag him and then trade him? Some chump change, because no one's going to pay that amount in a trade, and no one's going to give up that much even for a pass rusher. So we can sit here and have those boring conversations, to be honest, and I've already covered a good portion of it. I can sit here and tell you again where their Bengals need to address their focus on, and I think pass rushers up there on the list. Defense as a unit is up there on the list, and then let's not forget about the offensive line. But those are the two conversations I think we have to address as a city, as a fan base, as the Bengals organization, the front office. They need to address it each and every year. It's an ongoing conception. Then you ask yourself the question, well, where are you going to find it? Is it going to come from free agency? And we know that the market for a good pass rusher, the market for a good offensive line comes at a cost. Are we willing to spend that cost? Is it going to come from the draft? Can we keep on relying on the future stars today of tomorrow idea and draft a whole bunch of players, hoping that we sprinkle a little bit of fairy dust on them and they're going to turn out to be somebody big enough and talented enough to help carry this team alongside Joe Burrow to a championship? So we can sit down and have those conversations. But the reality is, until we see the Bengals start doing anything, then it's a little bit difficult to come on here day in and day out and give you Bengals talk. It is. Now, there's a time and there's a place to talk Bengals. The combine's coming up. Now, I can't, people are going to go do agilities. And, I got my own opinion I can share at a later date on the combine. Then the draft comes, and I can sit here and give you my take on who I really want. But it's not my decision on who we put out there on the field to win a championship. And they're not paying me the big bucks. So it's fun to even, sure, it's fun to have these conversations and indulge into the conversations of what our draft could look like and then see the reality crumble during the draft season. But that's why I stick to baseball. Baseball right now is the hot conversation. And there's a lot of great conversations and stories to go along as we get ready into the new season. One of the stories that is coming along, and Yeah. Let's pull this up real quick. But one of the biggest things that we're going to look forward to, and I don't know how you guys feel about this, but we're going to look forward to in 2026 is that they're implementing a new, the automated ball and strike system, challenge system at the regular season. So I think we had some of this exposed last year during spring training. It was something that Major League Baseball was going to experiment with. I know they've done it at the minor league level. They've done it in independent baseball. It's worked. It you players, catchers, and coaches are able to challenge balls and strikes now. And we've seen this the thanks to history. As umpires are humans just like you and I, they will make mistakes. Some of them are a little bit more critical mistakes. I heard something I could support on, and that was talking about how somebody mentioned that they believe the umpires, the crew chief umpire, should come on the podium after the ball game and have a press conference. I think it was originally stated for the NFL and how the NFL referees should come on to the in front of the media after the game, just like the players and coaches do, and they should hold a press conference and be asked those tough questions about how their handling system goes. And that's one thing I think we fail to realize or to even accept or acknowledge that these umpires, these teams, these group of men and women who are officiating these games, they travel with each other, and every umpiring crew is different from the other, and they see things and they have to make an instant call at a higher frame rate where we can go back in and slow things down, and then we can sit here and judge and criticize on, well, what is that umpire doing? Well, guess what? They are human beings. They make mistakes. Well, the ABS challenge system is designed to allow players to challenge home plate umpire balls and strikes using the radar technology. Now, I think it's good for the game. I don't think we're realistically going to notice because it doesn't take an exclusive amount of time to get this call done. But some umpires may still feel offended by it. Each team will get 2 challenges per game, with a successful challenges retained. Only pitchers, catchers, or batters can initiate a review immediately by tapping their cap or helmet. So here's the details in the rule book here. Okay, this is how it works. If a challenge is initiated, the pitch is initially reviewed using tracker data. If any part of the ball touches any part of the defined 3D strike zone, it's called a strike. The process: players have roughly 2 seconds, give or take, to challenge the pitch. The decision is shown to the stadium and reviewers via a 5G enable nearly instant graphic. Teams start with 2 challenges. If the call is overturned, they keep their challenge. If it stands, they lose it. Extra innings: if a team runs out of challenges, they receive 1 new challenge per extra inning, not accumulated. So if you don't have any challenges coming into the end of the game and you go into extra innings, every inning you will receive 1, just 1. And if you don't use it that inning, it will roll over. It does not roll over to the next inning. You go restart back at 1. But if you use it and it doesn't the call stands and you lose it, we'll just know it resets for the next inning. Restrictions: only the pitcher, catcher, and batter may signal a challenge. The system is not active if position players is pitching. Look, I think at the end of the day, this new system, it's something that we're going to see in baseball, whether we like it or not. It is trying to find the right middle ground that pleases both officiators, fans, coaches, and players. Now, it's going to be a strategy because each team only gets two. And it's going to be interesting to see what players are going to use them more so than others. And I'm sure that there's going to be a way and difference of opinion on how they should be used, because I don't want my first two challenges and my only challenges to be used up in the first three innings because my players thinks it's a ball and strike. It has to be very critiqued. Now, if it's obvious, if it's an obvious ball or strike, I can understand that, but you're not going to get too many. You're not going to get too many opportunities from me if you're getting them wrong. And so you look at the Reds. Well, who do you think on the top hand will have the ability to make these challenges decisions as a hitter? Matt McClain, maybe Ellie De La Cruz, Suarez, Spencer Steer, maybe. I don't know. And then that's going to be the conversation that Terry Francona has with his organization. So I'm interested to see how this factors in, because I do know teams are using the challenges to make plays on the field all the time. You may not see a lot of it during the regular season, but we saw a heavy use of challenges being made during the playoffs. And so, like I said, this is all developing. So I'm just wondering, over throughout the development stage, do we see it change where maybe I would honestly, and depending how much this slows the game down, I'd say on an offense defense perspective, the notion of calling balls and strikes, a player and the player and batters, they get, I'm going to say, one, if not maybe two opportunities to challenge per inning. So if the Cincinnati Reds are up to bat, if they bring in six batters to the plate, they have two opportunities or even one opportunity throughout all the batters, throughout that half of the inning, to challenge the play. Now, if it upholds, they still get that challenge. If it stands, they lose the challenge. Same thing for the pitchers and catchers. If they want to challenge it, it's one challenge per inning. And that is just, on top of the team's challenges against the plays that I think should be separate. So it's going to be something new. It's going to be something interesting, and it's going to be something fun to see how baseball adjusts to that heading into this new season. But I truly believe it is around to stay, and it is something that we will be talking about throughout the course of the year. Now, the Reds have a couple games this weekend. So I've put some thought into it, and I'm still thinking about it. I don't know how this is going to work out. I want to give you a show live stream earlier in the day. Is that possible? Maybe. If I'm going to do that, then I got to record earlier in the morning, which means that I got to post earlier in the day. And I think that's fine. But knowing that spring training games are earlier in the day, 3:00 in the afternoon, gives me a little bit of time. I could come up and move the show up to noon, but then you also have, can we get anything earlier? That's where I'm kind of getting, I'm concerned about. I want to start going live streaming again. I want to be able to talk live to people, but the issue, once again, I have is being consistent. So what I have decided to start for now, because it's going to run into conflict of interest, not only throughout the Reds season, because I don't want to have an episode up at 7:00, knowing that the game starts at 6:40 and we can't really talk about it. So what my plan is to have an episode up by noon every day starting Monday. If I could go live, that will be even better. If not, get an episode up by noon. And so I don't know what the game plan is quite yet, but starting Monday, February 23rd, we will have our episodes at noon every day for the lunch hour. And that way we also can come on here and talk some baseball before the next game has played. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to be perfect because I'm sure throughout the course of the season, if the Reds have any double headers, if they have getaway days throughout the week, we may see some games start at 12:35, 12:40, 12:10. I'm not sure, but the goal is to be able to get this show done, posted, and ready to go, aired before the next Cincinnati Reds game. So, Monday, big announcement. Monday, February 23rd. You could tune us in on all of our audio platforms at noon Eastern to get all your latest sports news and stories. What about that? I'm excited for that. What about that? Gosh, doesn't that get me excited for talking sports with you guys? All right. So, I want to also take this moment and congratulate the USA women's hockey team for beating Canada yesterday. And it was a stellar matchup. I was getting nervous. I'm like, they were shutting out people throughout the course of the tournament. It was 5-0, 5-0, 5-0. Next thing you know, they almost were shut out until they tied it up at the end of the third period, forced an overtime here, and it was thanks to Megan Keller, who made the game-winning goal in overtime. Like, this was a really intense full back end, maybe more so than what it needed to be honest. But and that's one of the downfalls. I haven't watched a lot of U.S. women's hockey this Olympics, and maybe I should have. But I've heard nothing but dominance, nothing but control. And yesterday, I didn't see any of that. I think they struggled the most trying to put goals on the scoreboard. But they found a way. They found a way to win. They found a way to get the gold. They added another gold to the USA's total medalist. And it's an accomplishment. I got to tell you, it's not easy for a sport. Women's hockey is not necessarily a big sport, especially out here. I mean, do you watch hockey all the time out here? Maybe the NHL, maybe minor league hockey, but I don't see women's hockey out here. Maybe the USA women's hockey team will change that. But a good win. They pulled it through. 2-1 the final score in overtime. Megan Keller with the overtime game-winning goal. Congratulations. And now we can sit back and we can watch the men's hockey team. They are actually going to get underway. They have it actually not today, tomorrow, right? Yep. The semifinals game is actually, no, they're playing today at 3 p.m., so the game's kind of already concluded. If they won, then they will play for medal on Sunday at 8 a.m. If they lost, then they would play for bronze at 2 p.m. on Saturday. So opponents have yet to be decided, at least from my understanding at the moment. So hopefully the men's hockey team can pull in a gold. They got 2 more wins away from accomplishing that. Could they do it? Sure. Why not? Helps our records out, especially since we're not leading in the medalist statue. Excuse me. All right, so the Cincinnati Reds kick things off tomorrow. There's a handful of other games today, and those games look like as so. Which, how do you guys feel about that? And that's not today. What? Okay, I don't know if I'm seeing this. What am I looking at? Am I looking at this correctly? What are we looking at here? Okay, I'm on the MLB website, and it says that today on February 20th, which I don't see it happen. What? I don't think that's true, but it says here on the MLB scoreboard that the Cincinnati Reds are taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. And that just may be something that they're presenting. Yeah, because I don't see anything listed here. Like, what's going on? What am I seeing this correctly? No. All right, so spring training is underway. Cactus League and Grapefruit League. The Grapefruit League has had some final scores already, as the Orioles shut out the Yankees 2-0, and you have the Red Sox beating the Huskies 18-3. Oh Lord. The Twins take on the Golden Gophers at 6 o'clock tonight. That is the free game of the day. I don't know. That's another thing I'm going to check out after this. But the Padres and the Mariners are currently going at it. This is at the time of the recording of today's episode. The Diamondbacks and Rockies are at it. The White Sox and the Cubs, the Royals and the Tigers. And so, according to what I see here on the website, it says that at 7:05 you can check out the Reds and Cardinals, and I'm like, what? I don't get that. So maybe I have to kind of refigure out. So, um, the Reds play tomorrow. They take on the Cleveland Guardians. First pitch is at 3:05. It was just actually announced that Chase Burns will get the nod. Going up against the Guardians. Guardians have a split squad, as they have LT Allen on the mound for them in this game. The Guardians are actually taking on the Brewers on that second squad there. And so that's what's going to kick off our showcase of spring training baseball. You can watch it on Cincinnati radio, on CINR or CLE, or the Cleveland Guardians channels. I'm going to have to figure out. I am going to have to figure out what baseball, how to get Reds baseball. And I got to figure out, does T-Mobile still do the out-of-market MLB TV subscriptions? Because that was free, and I use that like no other. And I'm not an endorser. I'm not promoting them, but MLB TV, that package plan, just like how Verizon has the Red Zone deal, and it's kind of a thank you for being a member. I got to see if T-Mobile has that, because I like to get that again this year. I mean, I don't mind paying maybe $20, but I got to get every team. If I got to find the right deals, because it looks like the Reds are going to charge to watch the Reds games. On Sunday, they will host the Seattle Mariners, as Randy Dobnak, am I saying that right? Will be on the mound for the Mariners, as who that? Jose Franco will get the nod for the Redlegs. Now that's going to be the interesting thing for me, right? I'm searching that up right now. What the latest news on that? T-Mobile offers free MLB TV subscribers. It's a $150 value for qualifying customers. Usually, it's provided in late March around opening day through the T-Life app. So I have to follow that. Details usually include every out-of-market games throughout the season. That offer runs through, at least right now, through the 2028 season. User must redeems the offer via the app. So I know we'll be able to get that again this year when it's available. I don't know. So it doesn't really give us a lot. Um, it doesn't really give us a lot of time to, or they don't give us training games. Um, Small on spring. So I was just trying to see how, because I know WLW, you can listen to the radio game, to the game all year long. To catch Reds baseball during the turning 2026 spring training from February 20th through March, 10 games and practices at Goodyear Ballpark. Well, of course, position yourself. Okay, I don't need to worry about that. Um, Attend early. I'm not worried about that. How to watch. Reds TV, this new direct to consumer platform broadcast most games. MLB TV offers streams out of market viewers. And then you also have the WLW or 1360, which then MLB TV. Let's see what we have here, because sometimes their packages, I don't know when they renew. So let me log in. Okay. You guys are learning this all for the very first time if you guys are listening to this. So yes, I think. So if I wanted to watch, I don't know how far this good will go. So in this sense, the Reds games are in a market. We may not be able to watch enough, but I can listen to it, and I know I will. I love listening to the radio versions of this. A matter of fact, that is something that I tend to do quite often. I will listen to. There we go. I will listen to the games while watching it. So I'll listen to the radio version while watching them. So, got the Padres and the Mariners on in the background. So, well, all right, we'll see how long that goes. That is also the free game of the day. And I do, okay, you have the Cubs. But look, here's what I say it's spring training. I know there's not a whole lot to really get behind it. Like, you're not going to see a lot of your top players. And you're not going to. Let me get the audio feed. There we go. 90. So you're not going to see a lot of your players. There's position battlings, but reality is that spring training gets off to a slow start. It really just a clear indication that baseball's back. If you got nothing to do and you live in Florida, you live in Arizona, you go out and you check them. I think it's a fun experience. I've only seen photos and videos and stuff like that. I know our Fox 19 team here went out there over the weekend, and I think that was a great opportunity for them to be able to go out to spring training and watch some practice and get some interviews. Great for content purposes. But at the end of the day, the reality holds that it is simply, or we are simply, it's just spring training. And the key thing that we want to see heading into the weekend, heading in tomorrow, Jose Franco, probably not someone who's going to be on the roster. Chase Burns, someone who's going to fight for a position, but we're going to see a lot of guys who we are not familiar with because they're in our minor league system, but we're going to get them, we'll get a chance to see their feel. Now, some of them are faith, some of them are faith, some of their faith, gosh, are already predetermined. It is to just get the work in and start working with what you have to offer. So I like it. I'm engaged by it. Coming up on Monday, we will review both games and take you a look at what happened between both games. And then we'll prepare you for the next game and the game after that. So baseball is here. And as we get more information, as we get more into spring training, getting you guys ready for the season, we'll have a lot more coverage. Talking about the Reds being ready for spring training, the Reds also have to be ready to approach this season. And I'm going to go off of this article that was written by Ben Lethem a couple of days ago. And it talks about 3 things that must happen for the Reds to dethrone the Milwaukee Brewers in the NL Central. And I say that because, I think we are a good team. In order to believe that we're a good team, we need to see how we have bettered ourselves from last season. And one of our struggles to face head on this year is that we struggle against our division. And when I mean we struggle with our division, I mean we struggle. It is apparent. Now, the St. Louis Cardinals, they are in this rebuild mode. I don't think there should not be any reason why we struggle to win a series or 2 or even 3 this year against the St. Louis Cardinals. They are projected to be at the bottom of the league. They've gotten rid of a whole bunch of players. They are in the position where they are scrapping everything they have to rebuild it. It was something that's been avoided for the longest time, and they finally have to go through it. And we've seen bits and pieces of this throughout the course of the year, but we are seeing this officially take place this past year. There is no reason why we don't walk away beating the St. Louis Cardinals. The Pittsburgh Steelers, or not the Steelers, but the Pittsburgh Pirates have added some players. But just like year in, year out, they add players. They may have a good run early on. It's the back end of the season. I feel like a true early on test, depending on how a lot of these guys, how their health stands, a lot of these tests come from being healthy. And it's going to come from April and May and June and early on in the season. Now, with what Pittsburgh has on paper, I don't blame analytics to propose that the Pirates finish in 3rd place. But I think we are just a little bit better than that. So now I throw in an idea that, we need at least split or have 1 or 2 games better than the Pirates this season. The Chicago Cubs. I know that it seems like we've been performing well against the Chicago Cubs, but they keep coming back at it, right? They're not going to let up. They're going to fight every series, and they're going to find a way to win if they can. But one of the most dangerous teams that the Reds have to face in the NL Central, hands down, is the Milwaukee Brewers. Dating back to 2018, the Reds have posted a 47-78 record against Milwaukee. That's not good. That is a winning percentage of 376, and that is really bad. If the Reds are going to change their trajectory of the division race this year, they're going to have to reverse that trend, and that's not negotiable. In order for that to happen, they must make improvements in areas that have separated the two clubs in recent years. One is playing fundamental baseball. And I think we say this all the time. Playing fundamental baseball and allowing your opponents to make the mistakes. The Brewers' team field percentage in 2025's regular season was around .982. It's good for a ninth in the inning in the league. Excuse me. They excelled at forcing opponents to string together quality at-bats and cleaning in a clean inning to win. And, I would argue that we have a solid defensive front. That's why we have Ke'Bryan Hayes on there. That's why we're willing to eat up a bad or to eat up a. This is why we are willing to eat up an at bat in Hayes for his defensive appearance at third base. You know what Ellie De La Cruz could do. Matt McLain will be, if his sole role is at second base, we know what that is. And then you got Sal Stewart at first, maybe Nathaniel Lowe. Then our outfield looks, I think, so-so. But we need to have quality at-bats, working those counts, getting to that bullpen. And we really need to force the game to be played at our pace against Milwaukee. If the Reds want to flip the script, they must capitalize on when those rare opening appears, turning walks into errors, into runs, and with timely hitting with a paramount. They cannot afford to come up empty in scoring opportunities. That's something that is, I think, is a must. And sure, we could say this about all other 29 ball clubs, but this is how we don't beat the Brewers. This is how we can change to make that happen. Turn young talent into consistent production. You know, we're getting a lot of young talent and their opportunity to flash their promise at the showcase. You got J.J. Bleday, Dane Myers, Sal Stewart, Chase Burns. It is no secret that we have young players. It's time to develop and showcase them up at this, on a day-by-day level. Offensively, it means we're preventing prolonged slumps, improving situational hitting, and finding ways to contribute even on nights when the power isn't there. I go back to fundamental baseball. I go back to the simple get on base, drawing a walk, taking second if you can. I know Terry Francona has emphasized that this team is not going to be aggressive on the bases as much compared to others. Maybe that ends up changing his mind as we just play fundamental baseball. On the pitching side, it means working deeper into games, limiting free passes, keeping high-pressure situations under control. We should be a 1-2-3 inning first inning. We shouldn't hit 50 pitches before the third inning. All of these hinges on remaining healthy enough to withstand a grind of 162 regular games this year is also key. But the biggest category here is win in the margins. Unseating the Brewers from their place at the top of the division and despite Freddie Peralta leaving, despite what the Brewers have given up in replacement for talent, they're still projected to sit nearly at the top of the division. Maybe it's not in the lead of the division, but it's pretty up high there. It's better than what the Reds have it at right now. But we got to be able to separate these margin games. As evidence, the Reds are 25-19 within one-run games a season ago. Milwaukee separated themselves by thriving in tight games. Cincinnati, that was not Cincinnati, that was Milwaukee, excuse me. Cincinnati was 23-26 in the same category. So in order to flip the script, we need to be able to do the same. And it starts with the cleaner play on defense, smarter base running decisions, and a bullpen capable of locking down late innings. One-run games, extra innings, and high-leverage at-bats can define a division race. That's the truest statement I could ever hear from. And I say this because when I say it's true, I mean it's true. And I say this because I don't know about you. We can sit here and praise about Pierce Johnson and Caleb Ferguson and Emilio Pagan, and to my knowledge and to my respect, I haven't seen nothing out of our bullpen yet. I'm very concerned about our bullpen. And when I say that, I mean I don't trust our bullpen to save a life. The problem that I kept us seeing last year is that we would go get a 1 or 2 run lead against opponents. By the time we get into the bullpen, every inning, runners in scoring positions, every inning, we had a different storyline out there. And a lot of our games were costed that way. We need to have trustworthy and reliant bullpen to get us through. And so that is one of our um we really need to focus on getting those couple things done. Now, do we have the potential to do so? Yes. But it's going to be about executing and making sure that is done completely. So for me, Milwaukee is going to be the toughest challenge of the season, and Pittsburgh's right there behind them. Chicago, I feel we can continue to maintain, but we're going to have to focus on Milwaukee and be able to control those games. I mean, when we face teams outside our division, I mean, despite maybe the Dodgers, to be honest, I feel like we do very well, and I'm not trying to toot our own horn, but have you not seen us play against the Red Sox or against the Yankees in series that we know we should flat out lose? We've come back and we won those series. We just need to keep that mentality going throughout the series and throughout the course of the season. And that starts with the Red Sox in opening day, right? We have a prime example, a team who went to the wild card last year, a team who, is expected to be right back in the same conversation. We are the underdogs already heading into the season, and we have a lot to prove that last year wasn't a fluke, that it didn't belong to the New York Mets, that we belong in the wild card. This is our time to shine, and by cleaning up these simple things, and here's my thing. Terry Francona, first year, understand a lot of it gets put beside hand. All right, last year, performance was performance. This is your second year. I expect a better reign, a better control, a better strategy for this team behind Terry Francona that's going to help us succeed. That's out to it. But let me know what you guys think. All right, before we get into our last segment of the evening, I want to get you guys talking about Grassroots. It is a week from tonight. If you haven't got your tickets yet, please get your tickets now by heading on over to tickettailor.com. You can save a few dollars by doing so. A link will be provided in the description below, but get your tickets. You don't want to miss it. You could come dress up in the 1950s and enjoy a theater production at the end of Black History Month in relations where a 1950s Black family moves into an all-white neighborhood. They deal with truth and tension and spiritual, and this is such a impactful message driven, a little taste of what reality was over 70 years ago, what we still face today. And my camera goes out right before our show ends, right? All right, let me fix my camera real quick. Knowing me, that's always the direct cause. I'm not done with my session, so stop asking me. I don't want to switch my camera. All right, let's see what that turns into. All right. I know I'm still recording. Well, it's just I accidentally knocked into my camera. Let's see if this works. And we gotta maybe find a way to fix this. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Excuse me. And I guess we're just gonna finish the show without a camera. That's okay. All right. Well, Grassroots is going on March 27th through February 27th through March 8th. Get your tickets today by visiting tickettailor.com and get your tickets now. Um, and I will be there, and I want to see you there. Stop by, say hi to me, support the team, support the family, and all of the above. I'm excited. Want you to be excited too. Let's see what else we got. There we go. Camera, come on. Come on. I can mute myself. I can't do anything else. Unbelievable, you guys. I don't know what's going on. Anyways, all right, let's get down into our last segment of the day. WWE SmackDown is tonight at the where is it at? At the Amerit Bank Arena in Summer at the Amerit Bank Arena at Fort Lauderdale, Florida. This is the third episode of SmackDown during the fourth week to build Elimination Chamber match. It'll be displayed on SYFY at 8 p.m. because of the Olympics on the USA Network. They will return to the network, I believe, next week, from my understanding. Tonight's episode will feature two triple threat matches for qualifying matches and the triple threat for the Elimination Chambers. On the men's side, we will see Damian Priest take on Trick Williams, taking on the United States champion Carmelo Hayes. While in the women's side, we will see Charlotte Flair take on Kiana James and also take on Nia Jax. The winner of that match will qualify for the Women's Elimination Chamber. And also, we will see Kit Wilson take on Oba Femi in single competition tonight. There wasn't really a lot going on here when it came down to to SmackDown tonight. A small little match card. I know you can find Bobby Figure that Cody will be there, Drew, Jacob Fatu as well, but there really wasn't much said. I will go on and predict that that maybe Damian Priest wins. Okay. I will predict that Damian Priest will go on and win in advance. I would then predict that who else do we have it? I will also predict that I want to say maybe Charlotte Flair will win and advance to the Women Elimination Chamber. I don't know. Those are my predictions. But we would have to check out and watch SmackDown. We'll come back Monday morning and talk a little bit about SmackDown. What happens? All right. The last thing I really did want to get into is coming from on our TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. You know that we just began our MLB The Show 25 spring training franchise series where we play as the Cincinnati Reds, but we also provide other games throughout the web, throughout the spring training season to give you different games going on. We had a game yesterday between the Cubs and the Dodgers. We have 2 games this afternoon. You guys was already able to enjoy. That was I had the Mets or the Rays and Yankees. I also had the Padres and Mariners. And this is based off of the MLB The Show 2025 spring training season. Tomorrow, you guys can enjoy a 1:00 game between the Houston Astros and the New York Mets, as Hunter Brown will be on the mound for the Astros, as Kodai Senga will be on the mound for the Mets. The Reds get their spring training started with the Milwaukee Brewers, first pitch at 3:10. The Reds will have Chase Burns on the mound, while the Brewers will have Brandon Woodruff. Join us back again for Sunday baseball as the Toronto Blue Jays take on the Boston Red Sox at 1:00. We will have Kevin Gausman on the mound taking on Sonny Gray, and then at 3:10, the Reds will take on the San Francisco Giants as Brady Singer will be on the mound for the Reds, as Robbie Ray will be on the mound for the Giants. That is our spring training action. Let me just remind you briefly that we are just a little bit of ahead, but we begin spring training this weekend and a lot of action for you to come throughout the course of the week. I'm excited for it. I want to know your take, so let me know down in the comments of how you feel it's all went to. But we've had a good week. It's been a rough week, but it's been a good week. So that is all the time I have for you guys today. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Please have those notifications on and be sure to follow us on our social media pages. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, and we are also on all of our audio platforms, our iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts at. And if we're going to run out on it, let us know. We'll get on it for you. We will be back again tomorrow at noon for a brand new start time, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We will try to go live if we can. If not, we will still have this up and recorded for you. But that is all the time we have for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And until Monday, have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Take care.